And that's my son flushing the toilet. I totally know what you're thinking. Like 45 years knitting, she's only learned 5 things, but I'm not talking about like specific techniques or anything like that. What I'm talking about is, I don't know, bigger concepts that might translate into other areas of your life. They may not. I'm just going to share some things with you. The first thing I'm going to share with you, the first concept is make what you love. And you'd think this is pretty self-explanatory, but it goes beyond, oh, I like that pattern. Oh, I like that yarn. Let's put them together and see what happens. Because many times we get carried away by the perfect photographs, but you have to keep in mind that you're going to be the one wearing this, not the model or not the designer. Many times the designer is the model. So this is something that you're going to wear, that you need to be comfortable in, that needs to make you happy. Because frankly, for me, if it's not making me happy, then I don't really need to be spending my time, effort, and money making things. So that said, if you go to the other end of that spectrum, if all you want to make are gray pullovers with V-necks because that is what you love and that is what you wear and that is your aesthetic and that is what makes you happy, then do not let anyone shame you out of doing that. This past April, I finished 4 burgundy sweaters, one of which I am wearing right now. I love this thing. I love all 4 of them. They're all different weights, different yarns from different dyers. And, you know, I had more than one person kind of say to me, really? 4 sweaters in the same color? You have to understand, this is my favorite color. I think I look good in it. Maybe I don't, but I am under the impression that I look good in burgundy. And they make me happy. I loved each pattern. They are comfortable to wear. And when I put them on, I am happy. They are, every single one of them, worth the time, the money, and the effort I spent making them. And when I say make what you love, that is the feeling that I'm after. If that means you have 17 beige cardigans, then great, more power to you. Make your 18th beige cardigan, wear it proudly because it makes you happy. Second thing I am sharing with you is not everyone is knit worthy. Now, I am older. I have lived a lot longer than many, many knitters out there. So I pretty much do not live by other people's opinions. And most people who know me know that. So I will say that the only person that I consider knit worthy right now is my husband. I make a sweater for him every single year. For the past, this is going to be the 7th year. I love making them. He wears them proudly. He'll wear them to work. He'll wear them to parties. He brags about them. And he is very grateful. He appreciates what I make for him. I make other things for him as well throughout the year. If I see something, I'm like, oh, Steve would love that. Like, that blue would be amazing in a hat for him. I will go ahead and make it for him. That is my knit-worthy philosophy. And you know who else is knit-worthy? Babies. Babies are totally knit-worthy because I'll make anything for a baby. Yeah. Babies are in a separate category. They're it's their own little kingdom. The third thing I have learned, and again, it goes beyond knitting, is get the best tools you can afford. Now, having said that, I don't mean go out and, I mean, I would love to have the industrial electric winder like they have at the yarn shop that I used to work at. When you first start, doing something, or at least for me, I never had a lot of disposable income. So every time I like tried a new craft, I would get kind of like the lower end tools. And then if I stuck with it, then I would be like, okay, I really enjoy making jewelry, which I did for years as a business. But man, this needle nose plier, the handles are just killing my hands. So I would upgrade whatever the tool was that I used the most. And I do the same thing with my knitting needles. I happen to have arthritis on my right hand, which is, I'm right hand dominant. So I found this brand called Prim, and they make these ergonomic needles. I work a lot with DK weight yarn, so I use a lot of 6 and 7 US size needles. So whenever I have a project and either I need a new set of needles, or I broke the old set of needles, or the cord is just so bent in an old set of needles that it becomes a pain, then yeah, I will replace them with a set of Prims. There is always going to be something more expensive, fancier, more automated that you can get. I would absolutely love to have a sock knitting machine, but that is not something that is either within my means or that I can really justify. So unless mama wins the lottery, that's not happening. But when it comes to things that are going to help me knit either more efficiently or with less pain, less discomfort, yeah, I am all for making little upgrades here and there. And that is one I have learned. Yeah, definitely with age. The fourth thing I have learned is that all yarn is good yarn. And this is coming from someone who worked in a yarn shop where they had beautiful, expensive to many, including me, handmade yarn, hand-dyed yarn, someone who has purchased, many skeins, cashmere blends, which I absolutely love for socks. People throughout the world who for centuries have created beautiful, heirloom quality garments, items for their home, toys, out of the limited selection that they had to work with. I have worn hand knit and hand crochet items since I was a baby. And I know that in Peru in the 1970s, my mother did not have access, and my sister, they both made stuff for me. They did not have access to the veritable cornucopia of options that I now have. And you know what? Those were beautiful, comfortable heirloom pieces. To say that you cannot make something just as beautiful, just as special, just as worth of appreciation with any other yarn, I absolutely do not believe that. And I would say this is the concept that will probably come in the most handy, and it gets easier the more you do it. And it's learning to say no without explaining yourself. Don't have to be rude about it. You don't have to be mean about it. You say no with a smile and you do not explain yourself. And the reason why is that the moment you start explaining yourself, people who only appreciate you for what you can do for them or for what you can make for them will come up with counter arguments. I'm not talking about gifting things to people or anything like that. I'm talking about people who, you know, will just expect you to make things for them. And that will happen in knitting, outside of knitting, at work. So the sooner that I learned to say no without explaining myself, the sooner that people began to see where my boundaries were. And I would just say, oh, no, I'm sorry, I don't do that. Okay, I'm not giving them a reason. I'm not giving them an explanation why I'm not going to make them a sweater like this one. I am just saying, I do not do that. Because it becomes this kind of slippery slope that the moment people know that there are no boundaries, then the expectation is that you will do it for anyone. By the same token, the moment people know that you set boundaries, then they will know that your time, your effort needs to be respected. So I hope these 5 little nuggets of information have been helpful or at least interesting. I would love to know what you have learned during your knitting journey. I would love to learn that because I think we can always learn from each other. And I plan on learning until, you know, until I get raptured. So thank you so much for listening and hanging out with me for a little bit. I really appreciate it. And I will see you soon. Bye.